at least confirming that what we have said here is correct. But let me also say this to the Teacher Service Commission, and before Chair. Let me explain the background for why we discuss the issue of intern teachers. We have three issues. We have learners who have no teachers. And then we have teachers who are not employed. And then we have limited resources. What do we do? So we said, let us have a compromise. Let us employ teachers on contract. I think we are going to correct it. We will not. We have no problem saying we thought interns was a good word, but if NAT and the teachers union want us to say contract, we will call it contract. We employ teachers on contract for 2 years with a commitment, firm commitment, that after the 2 years contract, they will transition without any other interview or whatever. They will transition automatically to permanent and pensionable. That is the commitment that I made. That is what I bargained for. Because that way, we solve all the three problems in one. Number one, we make sure that all our children in school have a teacher. We also make sure that many of our teachers who are tamarking have a job. And the limited resources we have as a government also can pay them. And I want to thank the teaching fraternity. I think there was a big debate before. There was a lot of pushback before. But, we have to be realistic about where we are. This is our country. It's not fair to increase taxes. We're already spending 28% of our budget on education. To push it any further would be a bit more difficult and crowd out other necessities and priorities as well. So that is how we ended up with intern teachers. But I want to ask the TSC, I hope there are no teachers that have served more than 2 years as interns, because that is not what I bargained for. Any teacher can only serve for 2 years on contract, after which they transition automatically. Is that the case, Bwana Chairman?
Yes, sir. They only work for 2 years, and we convert them to permanent and pensionable terms automatically without any further interview.
That is the bargain we had for, because we understood, and we understand this. I get messages on my phone from intern teachers. They are on my case. Mr. President, when are you going to confirm us? Sometimes they do it in a code. I could see this is a plan. They bombard my phone, harass me and do all those things. I really wish I could do it automatically, but I have to persuade them that I know that whatever you earn as a contract teacher may not be enough, but, I'm just requesting that we work on the transition. It won't be for long. I think as the situation improves, we are now doing contract for 2 years. Maybe along the way, we will reduce it to 1 year. And then we will see how, when our situation improves, we can put more resources and be able to hire all our teachers on permanent and pensionable basis from the beginning. So this is the situation where we are. And finally, I needed to explain, why we have intern teachers, and I hope the TSC has no problem not referring to them as interns, because according to OU, and he is correct, these are qualified teachers. They are not interns. They are fully qualified. We can refer them to being on contract, but then with the terms that as soon as that contract expires, they transition into PNP. That should be your contracting situation, because we will provide you the resources for that transition, because it's a commitment that I made. Number 2 is on industrial action. Jebet, wacha uchochezi, please. Because, this space has been filled with, maandamanos, people with sufurias on their heads, and all manner of things. And sometimes, teachers, they don't do it out of the fact that they like to do it, because they are also parents. No parent wants to go roaming in the streets with sufurias, because you have all children. We all have children. But they do it, of course, as a last resort. But we decided, and I gave very firm and clear instructions to the ministry, that let us confront the collective bargaining agreements. Let us negotiate ahead of industrial action. And we have done it in health. We have done it in education. That is why there has not been a serious strike in the last 3 years. Not because they didn't want to go on strike, but we decided that let's engage them. And there were people who were accusing the teachers' unions, why have you signed the collective bargaining agreement? But that's the basis of the engagement between teachers and government. Once we honor their collective bargaining agreement, they have no reason to engage in industrial action. And my commitment to the teaching fraternity and to all the other spaces is that we will go ahead of time. We have, for example, we had a problem with the doctors. We decided to pay them whatever previous governments had committed to. I didn't say it's not my place to do it. We decided to pay whatever it was. I'm sure we spent close to 3.7 billion shillings to pay what was the backlog. And the teacher unions were also very understanding. They allowed us to pay it in phases and that kind of thing. So I really want to persuade us that instead of confrontation, in a meeting like this, we can find greater collaboration. And we can find greater understanding. And that way, we don't make the business of teaching difficult, we don't affect our learners, and we don't put teachers also at a point where they have to go to the streets instead of being in classrooms. So I think this is what I just wanted to say.
Thank you, Excellency. I started by saying it's a good thing for all of us. Thank you so much for that. And let me just bring in Reverend Gat. And you're representing chaplains in our institutions, which we know that they play a critical role in bringing up our children in schools. Maybe just talk about the issues also that you raised earlier on the chaplainship in our institutions, and a token that